I didn't know it'd take that long. Next up, we have the AASHTO-WARE spreadsheet. This was something that estimating wanted to do. It was basically a way to automate the general summary items from a spreadsheet and basically pull it into the AASHTO-WARE software so somebody wasn't entering the information. Because we actually had somebody in the Office of Estimating taking a general summary sheet and actually plugging in the data manually. And estimating saw a need that, hey, we need to streamline this a little bit. We want to make this a little more automated. So that was one of the things. It was initially developed for ODOT estimating. We actually derived from an old GENSUM VBA spreadsheet that we had in the CADD section because I know when Dan was here, it just kind of got thrown in there, and they said, look, we need a way to get the data in a format that we can put into AASHTO-WARE. So Dan actually initiated that to try to get, like the first initial version. We took a look at it, and we thought, we think we can make it better. So we actually brought it up at the CAD meeting and the design engineers meeting. And Tom Powell, actually, at District 4, spoke up and said, hey, we got a spreadsheet we use, and we think it would be a good fit. So partnering with District 4, we developed kind of the next version of that AASHTO-WARE spreadsheet. And John actually has been crucial in that development. He's basically made it what it is today. I took it initially and made some tweaks to it, and I kind of handed it off to him, and he's gone like nuts with it, with building in searches and all kinds of scripting and everything. So we got John here today to show some of that. And that's what we have today, the GENSUM VBA AASHTO-WARE XL estimating. John Dershik, ODOT District 4, he's one of the contact people for that. We also have Justin Hickey in the back. Justin, can you put your hand up? He's from the Office of Estimating. He actually does all the importation for all the data tabs for all the general summary sheets. So contact person for estimating. We also have the email address there, gensum.help@DOT state OHUS. As the email address for any questions, and then we kind of filter them amongst our group. If a question comes in that Justin doesn't necessarily have, a good answer for, then it gets filtered through to John or myself. So with that, I am going to hand it over to Mr. John Dershik. You got that? Is that what you want to hit 10 forward? Good. All right.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. All right, so I don't know if all of you guys are using this yet or not, but if you haven't heard of it, this will be something that is required. It is required right now, so if you haven't started using it yet, you will be. Basically, this is a little demo. I'm going to go through all the features in there, answer some questions. If you guys have questions, just blurt them out, because I kind of get zoned into the computer and I don't look up. Basically, when you start out, when you open it up, there's going to be a general summary sheet, simple form, DGen clip, data, and info. In the past versions, the info sheet really wasn't updated. I finally went through and gave it a good update. So if you have questions, most likely you can find it in the info tab. But the general summary sheet and the simple form sheet, basically we had a lot of people saying, we still want to use our general summary sheet. We don't want to use this one. So we came up with the simple form that only requires what information we need to fill out the data sheet, which is the whole reason why this sheet kind of came to be. This data sheet is what estimating needs to use in their systems. But I think after today, you guys might want to switch over to General Summary Sheet because it's pretty cool. But simple form is only going to be the main stuff that you need to fill out a data sheet. It's basically the same as a General Summary Sheet, just some columns are hidden to show you don't need it. So I'm going to go through the General Summary Sheet. Everything's pretty much the same on the simple form. When you start out, the contract ID is something you really need. It's going to be like the 3-digit county and then the PID number afterwards. If it's like I don't know if consultants have statewide projects or district-wise, but you would just put like D04 for District 12. So if you notice when this is not filled out, this box goes away. So it's something that is needed to fill out the data sheet. So when you have it filled out, it'll pop back up. If you put it in lowercase, it's not going to be there. It's case sensitive. So just note that. Going through, basically, different projects had different number of splits, and so the number of columns you needed for transportation, sheet numbers, they always changed. So we wanted kind of a way to have everything there without having to change the sheet for every project. So there's these change description width and sheet columns and part columns. Basically, if you needed, like, if there's 4 splits, you have it 4 there, and then it's going to change the number of columns you have in this section. So I change it to 4, 5. See how I added that. Now, on the General Summary Sheet, you may say, well, we added a column, it's not going to fit in MicroStation now. But we added this red line. It kind of tells you how many columns you can have displayed. So right now we're kind of over the limit. And that kind of is a guide for you guys. And then as you scroll down, you'll see this line is the end of the first page, as you keep going down. Kind of as a guide to help you when you fill it out. And then, sheet column, same thing. And then an issue we kept running into was, well, we still don't have enough columns. So I added this change description width. And basically, you have to watch because, if you have all this extra space over here, you might not need that long of a description column. So you come over here and you can turn to -1. That's going to allow you to get one more column for either sheet or participation. But you have to watch to make sure that you can still see all the description column. So I thought that was a pretty nice enhancement because we try to utilize as much space as possible. That's that section. And then basically I should describe the DGN clip sheet before I get too into this would be what you would put into MicroStation. It's the same thing. It takes all the data from the General Summary Sheet and throws it onto here. So it actually has like the start of the next page split, as you can see. So this is what you would copy in to MicroStation, but all the work would be done on here on the General Summary Sheet. The Refresh Item Master, basically, this sheet is kind of all filled out, the description, units, the items, all that's filled off just off of this item code column over here. So basically we want to make it easier. I guess that's office estimating, if the description wasn't how it should be, I think there were some problems with that in the past. So this kind of fixes that problem. You don't need to look up description, you don't need to type in a description. All you gotta do is type in the item code. Same thing with your heading. You put your heading or additional description in this column. And then we have a drop-down list. If the heading is in this list, it's not a heading you should be using. So, but most of them are there. If there's something that you think should have a heading, send us an email. it will, the way you can tell if it's a heading or not on top of it is it bolds. So if you see something over here when you're looking at it, it's not bold, it should be a heading. It should be a little cue that you're not using the right heading. Maybe you spelled something wrong if you typed it in. So as you're filling out your general summary sheet, you just need to fill out basically this part over here. If you have like that C sheet number way over here, we just put a column in over here to make it easier to fill out all at once. Same thing with if you have an item that doesn't show up in your plan, like a lot of times, erosion control, you could put it over here, so that way you don't need to mess with the formulas for the grand total over here. It does it for you. But I'm going to start going through the buttons at the top now, because this is where I feel like it would be really useful when you start making your sheet. So, as I was mentioning all these item codes, well, to populate all these formulas, we're hitting the item master, and it's in this file, but as that gets updated, so does this file. So if you don't update it, it'll say up here at the top when last time it was refreshed. So when you hit this button, it's going to hit the internet, grab that item master, and throw it into here for you. So periodically, as we send out updates to the file, we will update it too. But as a note, if you think that item number should be in there and it's not showing up when you type it in, just hit that button. It does take a little while to run, so if you accidentally hit the button, I have a little pop-up telling you that it's probably going to take around 2 minutes to run, so you can hit no if you don't want to wait 2 minutes. Another cool thing that we just added, so I don't know if many of you might not have seen it yet, but insert pay items is a cool search dialog box that I made. Well, I think it started with somebody else. Basically, you can search the item number, search description, you can sort off of the 3-digit item code, and I've also made it so you can kind of sort off a heading. It's not a complete list, but that's why I add this little checkbox right here. So if you click that, then I try to go through and filter out items that normally would go in roadway, kind of help, especially like new engineers out like me who are still figuring out what sections all the items go. So it won't sort unless you have that checked. So like if you're searching for something like it's a special item, you can type in special. It's gonna sort out all the special ones for you right there real fast. So it's really cool how fast you can search. It's anywhere within the description. You don't have to be like start to finish. It's going to search anywhere for it. Same thing with the item number. If you can sort out stuff that way too. After you find it, you can also insert it directly into the general summary sheet. By clicking the item. And when you're on the general summary sheet, it doesn't matter what column you're in, it just matters what row you're in. It's going to know where to put the item. Same thing if you wanted to add an additional description to the end of it, it'll add that in too. You just got to make sure you're on the right row that you want to insert. And if you hit insert item, it's going to pop that in there for you. Same thing with heading. If you want to place a heading, just make sure you're in the right row. It's going to pop it in there for you. So you can really use this to fill out a lot of your general summary sheet, which is pretty cool. I know I always was searching through the list trying to find what item number it is because I'm relatively new. Can't tell from my young age. What else you can also, if you don't want to keep going back and forth between the worksheet and this pop-up, use a skip button if you need to skip down to the next line, so you just keep working. So I really like this. It helps me out, and you can use it on other spreadsheets too. You open this up, you can open another spreadsheet like sub-summary sheet, and it won't know where to put, so you have to make sure you select the right cell, but it'll still insert the item number for you. So I kind of keep it open and just use it as I'm going through a project. So that is the search menu. And then Mark actually made these buttons, the insert row and delete row. Now, this was pretty big. If you need to add an item after you already made it, and you don't want to copy and drag everything down, you can use these buttons right here, and you say you needed to insert a row for an item, it's going to insert the row for you. And to that same extent, delete the row for you too. The import estimator and create estimator sheet with the new estimator version doesn't really support it because they didn't update to handle, because the new estimator can now handle splits and everything like that, but they never has updated the import feature. So it was set up to create, you can finish this, create the sheet, and then you can import it directly into estimator. You don't have to remake it. I don't know where that is at, if they are planning on updating it or not. So currently that is not supported anymore. So it was a good idea at the start, but hopefully, because I think that would save a lot of time, you only have to do the sheet once and then it goes directly into it. I made a center headings button, so after you fill everything out, it'll go through and uncenter anything that's not a heading, center anything that is. If it doesn't center, it's another indicator that it's not a heading. Insert spaces and delete spaces, I added. Basically, after you add everything in, there's a vision in L&D Volume 3 that says you should have a space after every 5 items. This will go through and add the space after every 5 items for you. Same thing with deleting, I'll just get rid of all of them. But to speed up the runtime, if you have formulas in for your quantities, it's going to switch them all to values, because I'm just shifting the data up and down, because it could take a long time to run on a big project. So note that. It tells you too when you hit it that, in the formulas, that if you guys do that in your general summary sheet, are going to be turned to values. So you might not want to use that if you're putting formulas in there. And the last button up here was for really long items, you just don't fit on one line. I made a pop-up so you can divide it onto multiple lines, and it won't mess up the data sheet. So basically, if you select on the description column, or the actual cell that you want, when you hit this button, it's going to populate the first line with that description, and you can move it down, stuff like that, add descriptions. And when you hit OK, it's going to insert a line, it's going to separate it for you. And to keep the formulas working, I had to add a little M right here for multiple. That tells the formula what to display in the description column. So if you do end up taking it back out, make sure you delete that M, or just use this button to delete the whole row. So those are the buttons at top. I think I tried to address a lot of problems with the old version, and so it handles a lot. As you're filling it out, I guess one problem that we currently don't have a real good fix to right now is if you want different page numbers, columns on different pages. We're looking at that into something to fix that. But yeah, right now, every page has to have the same columns. Yeah, like so I can talking like right here, have another option. That is the easy fix right now. I guess I've been working on a full-blown version that can create the general summary sheet from all the sub-summary sheets for you, so you don't even have to go through all this because you're already doing all the work on the sub-summary sheets. And that would create the coding a lot of problems because then, so that's the easy fix for this version right now, but I'm looking in the future to have that other version out there. Yeah. Like different files. Yeah, that is another option, but to create the data sheet, you need all of it in one file. So you can do that and then just use the simple form, just copy everything into the simple form, and then you can create the data sheet through the simple form. So that's another option you do have, but I know people don't like to have multiple files and stuff like that. So we're looking at that, hopefully come up with something. So yeah, so what you're saying is they can only really import the data sheet once. So if you have multiple files, you can't do it. So that is an option. Use a couple different files, make a general summary sheet, and just copy all the pages into one of the simple form sheets, and then you can make the data sheet. Something else to note is when you do have the right amount of columns displayed, it will automatically update the DGN clip sheet to display those columns. The DGN clip sheet will never display more columns than what can fit. So if you have more columns displayed on your general summary sheet, just make sure when you go to DGN clip that they're not being hidden and they're actually all there. So I also added, you can change the DGN clip sheet columns on this page too, but those get automatically updated when you make this sheet the right size. Yeah, what you're saying is the simple form. If you notice, there's no sheet columns. They don't care about the quantities for the sheets. They only care about vegetation quantities. So you really don't need those. And so on this sheet, that's why it's hidden. You just need those parts of vegetation names and quantities, items, and headings. As you're filling out this general summary sheet, we added some kind of catches to help out. Basically, when you add a number in, scroll down, all this red stuff comes up, basically saying you don't have quantities matching, or you need to add quantities in, or you need to add a C sheet number. So, I think I wrote down a number. So when you add a number in, if it needs an additional description, it's going to turn this yellow to let you know that you need to add something there. So it'll go away when you put something in. And all these are red because currently there are no quantities listed. So, say I'll just put in 50, it goes away. And say you put 50 in over here, it goes away. If your participation and sheet number totals don't match up, it's going to go red to let you know you don't have the same number. So that's something to look out for, because they need to match, or they should match. This is a catch. And then this is red too if it needs a C sheet number. So kind of catches as you're filling out. If it's red, then it needs something. Let's see here. Mm-hmm. Thanks for asking that. I meant to mention that. With lump sums, if you notice, I see there's a lump here, LS here. Our item master switched from long units to short units. So it supports both. But in regards of if it needs to go with multiple splits, you can just put LS in all of them, or you can put a 1. It'll pick that up too. Right now, no. Not currently. But the percentages probably be taken care of in the split itself, because if it's like an 80-20 split, then they know. But yeah, I currently no.
Well, I have a microphone now, so
All
I have some power. When it goes to PS&E, they'll take care of the splits there. They'll allocate it properly. So you can just put in a 1 or LS PS&E.
And then in regards to that as well, incidentals is now going to be shown. I know in the past it was just all these items are kind of thrown at the bottom, and I think I've seen miscellaneous used. It's now it's incidentals is what should be used. It's all those items at the bottom, like maintaining traffic, field office, that all should be put under incidentals heading. And dividing up the quantities in that section, as long as you put the total over here, what office estimating will take that and figure out how to allocate for this section. If you do take a look at the actual data sheet, what it does is it's going to split these quantities evenly across all 4. So if you're looking over here and you see that, it's supposed to do that. So just evenly splits them. Another little thing, if you put, it can support lump and LS, but it's going to go red if you use 2 different in the same line. So there's that. And bridges. If you have bridges, this has always been that issue. I know a lot of people have separate summaries for bridges. They have to go in the sheet, so you can copy them over and put them at the bottom of the sheet if you don't want them listed, because it just needs to be in there. You don't have to use that page. So like right here, I copied in the bridges below the end of it. That way it still goes to the data sheet, and then you don't have to show it. I should mention this as well. With the structures, how I mentioned, if a heading is bold, then it is a heading that you can use. Well, a lot of times, plans will have something like, I don't know how well you can see that, but it says structures under 20-foot span, and then below it, it says, I'll scroll over, for structure. What I did was bold these headings, even though the actual items aren't under here. I did that for if you want to use this sheet and put it into a microstation, that you can still have it display this, but you still need to put all the structure items below. And all the structures need to be divided up for every structure. So you can't just have a general structures heading and then put all the structures item. You need to divide up what items go with what structures and the quantities within. So if you look in the drop down, it's probably hard to see. Let's see if I can. There's like structure repair, and then we have in parentheses like concrete section or SFN. That's there because you would need to divide out for every bridge under this heading. So you would just change this out with the actual bridge name, and that's what I did below. And then you just list the items, and like I said before, if you don't need this to show on your general summary sheet, you can just throw the quantities just in the participation columns. Huh? Yes, I don't think I would, that the heading will bold. If you, yeah, you could, yeah. I might have to update the code a little bit to actually get the lighting and the general heading to be bolded. If you add like, yeah. So if you want to like put some like C sheets, basically when it creates the data sheet, it skips over anything that doesn't have an item code or quantity. So if you put an item code in here, like the example bridges, if you have all items listed and then the structures go across, and some of the items for that structure don't have quantities, well, you can still just copy all of them, paste them in here. If there's no quantity, it'll skip over it. Make it easier. You just need to have all of the structure stuff here. I don't know if you guys seen on the website, but structures 20-foot span and over, and structures under 20-foot span, or these headings are only supposed to be used for new bridges. If it's a repair or anything else, there is a structure repair heading that you should be using. So, and I guess they don't need them separated for structure repair if it's over or under 20, so you don't have to worry about that.
Right, and sometimes if there's a lot of items, it's good to have the structure repairs separated out by structure. But right, like John said, if you have new structures, use the structure 20-foot span and over or under. And if it's a repair, even if you keep it in the same, just as long as it has the same structure file number, you can use the structure repair heading.
And the only other ones like that is the retaining walls need to be divided out too. So those are the tricky ones, I guess, that need to be divided out.
Right, and also for the structures, if there's a left and a right, those need to be broken out too, because they'll have a different structure file number, whether it's the left or right.
Mm-hmm.
It's the feds want it that way, and also management wants to be able to separate costs out by SFN.
Yeah, so that's the majority of how to use the sheet. Yep. The easy fix is if you use like a round function in the beginning of your formula right here. You can use like round up or round down, and you can put the number of decimals you want. But I see what you're saying. Like sometimes it won't display as many decimals as you want it to display.
Formatting the cell doesn't help because reconstruction, where I'm putting in the information into, it can only take up to that's hundredths, thousandths. It'll only take 3 decimal places, so it errors. So I have to go through and copy. I have to actually manually take out. You're right. I have to take out the decimal places. So yeah, you could use an mround or round up or round down function.
Yeah, and we locked the sheet so you can't go in and change the display up here. So that, right here. So that you can't mess up the sheet because there's a lot going on. So that's why it's password protected. I know that's one of the things you lose is the ability to come in here and say, I want to display this many. But it's kind of a trade-off. So. Well, I don't know, 20 years from now when this gets retired, maybe we'll make it open source. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if Mark wants to take that one.
Yeah, something that we actually talked about doing was with a lot of the quantity sheets, whether it be sub-summary or general summary, we're actually talking about doing away with that as a DGN file and just having it as a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet. And that's part of what I want to kind of work with John with is to develop those. And that was something else that's kind of on my task list was the like the plan development, the life cycle of a whole project, modernizing that to a point where you're not, restricted to a CAD environment for quantity sheets, which could be done in a spreadsheet. So that's something that we are going to continue to work on. At some point, hopefully, that'll be a contractual document instead of the CAD design file. So we're working on that. That's kind of an ongoing thing. But yes, that I would expect to see that happen.
Could you say that again? No, I was not aware of that. So I can give it a look. Actually, there's one thing I did forget to mention in this search bar. If you want to copy like the item number out, if you double click, it's going to send the item number to the clipboard, so then you can paste it outside of Excel. And if you shift double click, it's going to send the description to the clipboard. You can't really see that, but that's a little feature in case you needed to paste something outside. It depends on, if you hit the refresh data tab button from the general summary sheet, it will populate the data tab from the items on this sheet. If you go to the simple form and you hit on this form, it's going to populate the data sheet off of this sheet. No. You can't. So like if you have multiple files and then you paste everything to a simple form sheet, make sure you hit the refresh data tab on that sheet. And this is what the data tab looks like. You shouldn't change this because it gets populated off the general summary sheet or the simple form sheet. So when Office Estimate gets it, they might re-hit it. So change it on the sheet itself. this was really shown so you guys can see what this is actually what is needed. It's not really to mess with. Currently there's a limit of 20 participations, which I don't think we will ever. It's a lot, and 20 sheet numbers was the limit. So. No, there's not right now. I mean, I can add that. I will sort, maybe highlight. Oh, the question was, can you sort the items to be numeric? Currently, no, I can add like a button or something, or maybe. Yeah, but when you sort, like if you just highlight this, it's just going to sort those numbers. It's going to mess up all the quantities. So if I add a button, then it would take care of that to make sure that you don't switch items and quantities and stuff. Is there any other questions? There's this info tab that goes through. It kind of has a picture and then everything, all the buttons, what they do. Pretty extensive. There's also online there's that GENSUM. Yeah, right here. There's a link to it. This is also another place that kind of lists stuff, updates, versions, where you can get the file. Some notes, I think, changelog. Some more info on that link at the top, right here. I don't know, do you guys see this as being a good general summary sheet, like that you guys would want to use? Okay. I know there's still some limitations, and this is fairly new, and we've been sending out a couple different versions, so we're kind of ironing out all of the problems and hiccups. But we tried to address most of the problems we're having with the old version. Is there any other questions?
Why we were looking at doing two-type fonts. Any other questions for John while he's here? We're actually going to make this video available on our website, so if you want to come back and watch it, almost maybe as a training guide or something like that, even for internal people that want to learn a little bit more about how the GENSUM works, we're going to actually publish this on our website. So John, you actually got out of doing the training video now. Yeah. Any other questions for the morning session for any of us up here before we break for lunch, which we're about 5 minutes early?